Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Insider. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Jeromy Corrigan, media manager for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Another busy show on the docket today, as we're going to be joined by the play-by-play voice of the Battlefords North Stars, Marty Martinson. Always a good chat with Marty, but we have lots to get into today. But before we do, of course, we have to give a big shout out to our sponsors here at the SJHL, and of course, SJHL Insider and SJHL Weekly. Of course, first, our podcast sponsor, which is SGI, for our audio podcast on both Apple and Spotify. Be sure to subscribe today. But of course, all of our great sponsors: Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Canterra Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGU, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, Young's Equipment, Sask Lotteries, and of course, like I mentioned at off the top of the show, SGI, our podcast sponsor. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, guess what? This show's not possible. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Of course, as always, we're joined by our co-host, Clark Munroe. Clark, how are we doing today?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And you know
Just
what?
paw tuck it. Hey?
It was super cold out the other day, and it's not as cold. So I feel like it's a better day. It's good.
I like how we go from minus 52 with wind chill to now like a nice balmy minus 10.
Ooh, it's almost shorts weather out there.
I joked about that last night. Regardless, lots to get into today, so let's get started.
Yes, let's get started. Now, last week we didn't have this, so I'm excited to get back in the studio so we can see this in person again. It's time for the hat trick.
As per the request of Commissioner Kyle McIntyre, I will no longer do the sound effects.
Okay.
Because he was not impressed with my sound effects.
I thought you did a bang-up job.
Well, you don't pay me.
Fair.
He does.
Fair.
So I will no longer, I have retired from the sound effects business, and I will no longer do it as per Commissioner Kyle McIntyre. We can confirm.
Okay. Well, I'll have to have a chat with him because I don't like that decision. I'm gonna appeal. I'm gonna appeal. Okay. But anyways, we'll get into it. Number one, of course, as always, is a look back at the last couple of days across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So let's start off with a look at Tuesday's games. There's a couple on the docket, and don't adjust your screens. That number is correct. Jeromy, let's talk about Tuesday.
Well, I mean, yeah, that first, the Estevan Bruins doubling up to Kindersley Clippers 4-2 to get back in the win column. And then, yeah, there was a lot going on for Yorkton that day. Their bus broke down on the way to Nipawin, so that was an uphill climb to begin with. That game didn't start till 8:45, so uphill climb, and I think that's just a game for Yorkton. You kind of just have to let's just pretend it didn't happen. And Nipawin walked away. Obviously, they won their fourth straight game, and they won 10-2. But then last night, there's 3 games on the schedule in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League on Wednesday, and don't adjust your screens. Estevan won 4-2 again over Kindersley. Exact same score.
Not a typo.
Not a typo. Exact same score. And then that battle of the top 2 teams at the ACC and Battleford.
It was a tasty number.
I watched a good chunk of it last night. And Battleford, once again, big 3-1 win over the Laurent Ice Wolves. They're still undefeated in regulation. But then the Notre Dame Hounds, big 2 points on the road over the Humboldt Broncos last night. I texted our good friend Jamie Neugebauer, and he always liked to bring up during our shows pre and post game on SJHL Weekly that during his time with the Notre Dame Hounds, that I think they had only won once at the EPA.
Yep.
In Humboldt. So the fact that they walked in, had a big third period, 3 goals in the third, had a great goaltending performance, and earned a big 2 points. Big win for the Notre Dame Hounds in, I do believe, their lone game of the week.
Yeah, and big game. By all accounts, a good game for the goaltending for Notre Dame. As I believe it was the Humboldt Broncos' own Twitter account said, unbelievable goaltending by Notre Dame. I'm pretty sure. So that's usually a good sign. That's
always a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Humboldt will be looking to try and bounce back on Friday. 2 big wins for the Estevan Bruins, doubling up Kindersley. I mean, they got a big week. They play 4 games in 6 days. 2 big wins at home. Now they got, I would say, a bit of a tougher task on Friday when they take on Melfort. But, I mean, 2 big wins for Estevan. We've talked about how many games they've played so far this season. And as a result, because all these teams are going to have games in hand on them, when they play games, they're going to have to take advantage of them, and they did just that.
Yeah, for sure. And a couple of the new guys that are in the lineup that they've recently acquired got on the score sheet.
Yep.
We see Fillion, we see Tyconic on there, Sal Calora, who came earlier this year, but he's still new this season. So they've been getting some distribution amongst their scores. And quick shout out to our boy Jackson Miller, who got his first SJHL win in, I think, the second game. Last night, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure he got the win on that one. So he got his first SJHL win.
And I don't want to dive into the battle for Larange one too much, because we're going to be joined by somebody who called the game and somebody that was there.
Yeah.
We could only see so much on Hockey TV, which, by the way, if you can't make it out to the rinks, you can watch the games on Hockey TV. Just $29.99 a month on Hockey TV. Would make a great Christmas present.
Great pitch
for the hockey fan in your life. But I mean, Battleford got out to a quick 2-0 lead in that game, but Larange stuck around. Dawson Smith was rock solid in between the pipes for Larange. They get to within 1, but they just can't. You know, it's tough when you take on, obviously, the #1 team in the SJHL, the #1 team in the country. If they have a lead, it is tough to climb back. And we talked about it on Monday on SJHL Weekly. The only time the North Stars have lost, whether it be in the shootout or overtime, they were trailing in those games.
Yeah.
They were trailing in those games. When they have the lead, it's tough.
It's so hard. They have waves and waves, right? We talked about that all season long. And I think it was on the weekend, Jeromy, they were playing Melfort on the weekend, and it was 4-4 at one point, and I texted you, and I said, Jeromy, Melfort has Battlefords on the edge. And the only reason I said that is because nobody has them usually on at that score. It's usually
you mean tied.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was in the third period.
Fair
the
enough.
game was tied. It was close in that regard. But yeah, no, it's just we look at the schedule, and day after day we think who's going to take them down, and it hasn't happened yet. We'll talk more about that with our next guest. Let's get into topic number 2. Which, of course, we're going to have a look. This is new, actually. We haven't done this yet. We're going to have a look at the power play and penalty kill of teams across the SJHL. Let's start with the power play, as you can see on your screens. Initial looks, Jeromy, what stands out?
Well, Flin Flon.
Yes.
I mean, if you can click on the power play at 28.9%, you're going to win a lot of hockey games, and that's why they're one of the top teams in the SJHL. You know what? Usually when you look at special teams, and we'll show the penalty kill here shortly, but when you look at power play and penalty kill, usually the top teams have good power plays and penalty kills. That helps you. You know, special teams is so important. It doesn't matter what level of hockey. Yeah. I think the one that actually does slightly surprise me is I'm surprised Larange's power play is only
down
7th at 17.7%. But I mean, the fact that you see 4 teams above 20%. If you can click at above 20% on the power play, you're going to have a lot of success. Yeah,
and the top 6 teams in the standings are in the top 7. The one that isn't is Nipawin.
And but with their firepower, that doesn't surprise me.
Exactly, and that was what I was going to say. Is that they
have a lot of top end talent.
We talk about the battle in the bottom 6 of the standings in terms of 6 or 7 through 12. Nipawin's that one team we keep talking about where we're like maybe. Because of that power play, because of certain things like that, that's why they stand out a little bit.
And before we get to penalty kill, I just want to point out the 4 teams right now in the SJHL standings that are not in a playoff spot. Where are they on this power play standings?
Correct. The bottom 4.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. So, which stands out. It does kind of paint a picture, if
Yep.
you will. Now, with Weyburn's acquisition of Riley Morgan, maybe that's
pop up. That's going to change.
We'll talk about that as we go. We'll 100%. Have another look at it. Let's have a look at the penalty kill here, guys. As we can see, and in the similar vein to the power play, the penalty kill leaders, again, for the most part, the top 6 teams in the league are in the top 7.
Yep.
With the exception, again, of Nipawin, who, look at their special teams. They're in there. So what stands out for this one for you?
I just think if you can click at above 85% on your penalty kill, you're going to have a lot of success. Like, just look at Flin Flon, Larange, and Melfort above 85%.
Yeah.
I mean, even Battleford and Humboldt. Usually, if you can have your penalty kill above, I think, 80%, you're going to be pretty happy. I've always thought, personally, like, if your power plays above 20 and your penalty kill is above 80, you're going to win a lot of hockey games.
It's a good
Those are the two numbers.
Because,
20% plus 80%, that's 100%. So give it 100%, and you're going to have success when it comes to special teams.
Beautiful.
TM, trademark, no one take that.
And, a couple of the top teams in the league, we look at, shorthanded opportunities, the TSH line there. You see Melfort, you see Flin Flon, you see Battlefords, very low numbers. They are very disciplined teams, and that's one thing that you look at maybe down the list a little bit, where you see Humboldt maybe slipping a little bit, Estevan, And then Yorkton and Melville, they have a lot more penalty kills opportunities, which isn't necessarily a good thing. So that kind of stands out for me as well.
Well, and Larange with how many penalties they take,
and they're doing great.
They've had to be good on the PK,
Yeah.
and a large part of having a good penalty kill too. Great goaltending.
Great. I was gonna say the other thing. Look at the top 5, all great goaltending generally.
Great goaltending
Throughout the season so far. So that's another good point. If you can bring it back to the studio here, gentlemen, we are gonna head into point number 3 now, which we talked about a few weeks ago now, but it's been a while. We're gonna update you on the KidSport goal. The goals for KidSport by Sask Energy. So let's look at the standings for that one as we bring that in, and not a ton of movement since the last time we did it, but there are some changes. So
I mean, yeah, I was trying to remember when we were prepping for the show and when the last time we did an update for the KidSport, and I think it was almost a month,
3 to 4 weeks ago, somewhere in that range. Yeah,
about a month.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the Battlefords North Stars, no surprise. I mean, they're the top team in the league, and they're at the top of the KidSport Cup standings right now for the most goals scored at home with 86 in 16 games. That's pretty impressive. I was surprised. Of course, when you look at the reason why we include this on the stat is the games played, is it shows, you know, there is a discrepancy when it comes to how many home games each team's played. Estevan has played the most games in the league. They've played over 30 games. They played the most home games. They're at 17. And, that's part of the reason why they're as high as they are in the standings a little bit, because some of the teams right behind them have played a decent amount less. However, they have scored a lot at Affinity Place. And then you look at the Notre Dame Hounds have only played 11 home games.
Yep.
And by my count, that's, if they have 11 home games and they've played and they've scored 34 goals, they're averaging 3 goals a game at home.
Which could be worse.
It could be a lot worse, which that isn't even that bad.
In that same vein, look at Weyburn, 11 games, same amount, 46, which by my math is a little over 4 goals a game. So, there you go. It is, Look
Clark.
At us doing math.
He's improved on his math since the last time we've talked about the KidSport Cup.
Yeah, we're getting places, Jared.
The other one that actually surprised me on that list, I think, too, was just Humboldt.
It's down a little bit lower.
Yes.
Than you might.
I would have thought they would have been a bit higher, but they've also played,
not as
a few less games at home. The one thing before we get to our guest, the great Marty Martinson, in total, with all the goals.
Oh yeah, where are we at?
We are at 631 goals scored at home. How much money is that, Clark?
Oh geez, I did this wrong last time, and you made fun of me.
He sure did.
It's over 12,000.
You are correct.
There we go. So I'm getting closer. Last time I was way off.
Yeah, this time you're in the ballpark.
I'm in the ballpark.
If we're playing Prices Right rules, you nailed it.
I did better this time.
$12,620.
Amazing.
Going into this weekend. Race for KidSport.
Let's go.
So everybody keep scoring goals at home.
Yeah, guys.
As the SJHL, Sask Energy, KidSport, they continue to raise money for KidSport.
That's one thing we should just tell the players going into every game.
Hey, guys.
Score goals at home. Because why not?
Don't score goals on the road.
No.
Need the home goals.
Save them for
at
the home goals.
At least until they reach the goal of $20,000.
Yeah, and then whatever. Yeah.
After that,
do
whatever. Score wherever you want.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot.
You can score on the road, score at home,
but save them for
neutral site games everywhere.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Love it.
But yes, that is the update on the KidSport Cup going into the weekend. Luckily, here in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, there is no games tonight. So as a result, those results are going to be just fine going into Friday. And I'm sure right after the holiday break, we will do another update on the KidSport Cup. And I have a feeling we are going to be getting close to that 20,000 mark.
Won't be long
for sure. You saw it on the KidSport Cup graphic. The top scoring team at home is the Battlefords North Stars. There it is once again. We got a little bit of technical difficulties on our good friend Marty, but
I see.
We're gonna tease his interview here.
I love teasing.
We're gonna tease the interview here.
Yep.
As you can see, the Battlefords North Stars, 86 goals on home ice in 16 games played. They added 3 more last night, and let's talk to the man who called the game. A thriller. It was a thriller last night at the ACC in Battleford, and we are pleased to be joined by the voice of the Battlefords North Stars, Marty Martinson. It was another great game at the ACC. There he is. Marty, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Well, thanks for having me back on the program here. Always a pleasure, and always happy to jump on.
Hey, you're the only I think he's the second. You're the second repeat guest to come on the show. So that means you're obviously doing a great job being the play-by-play guy at the Battleford North Stars. Great job promoting the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. I'm going to give you a softball question to start, Marty. Last night, 3-1 win for the North Stars over the second-place L'Orange Ice Wolves. Great game at the ACC. What did you see from last night's game and in a 3-1 win for the North Stars?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, just a great hockey game. And I know when I was doing the pregame stuff, I tweeted out, get the popcorn ready because this is going to be some can't miss action. And boy, did it ever deliver. I know even from talking to assistant coach Gary Childerhose there pregame, he said, you know what, it's a Wednesday night game, but it's one of those, it feels like a Saturday night, and the fans were out there in droves, and everyone was looking forward to this one. Like you said, not too often that the top two teams get to face off there, and really it delivered on all fronts. In particular, in between the pipes there, I know we talked at length last time I was on here about the play of Josh Cote, call it Groundhog Day here, or Deja Vu. We're probably going to be doing more of the same here in this one. He's been that good, and at the other end, Dawson Smith as well for L'Orange. I mean, it was truly as advertised. A couple of the premier teams here, a couple of puck hound teams, and a couple of the elite goaltenders in the league, and both teams living up to the expectation heading in there. Great game all around, and for the Battlefords North Stars, just continuing to chug along here.
Yeah, it was a battle between two of the top goalies in the league. Obviously, the battle between the two top teams in the standings right now in the SJHL. I was going back to see when our last interview was, last time you came on the show on SJHL Insider. It was October 13th. I listened back to it a bit, and we're talking about at the time the North Stars hadn't lost in regulation. There was no blemishes at all yet on their record. Unfortunately, the next game after, they lost in a shootout to the Melfort Mustangs. However, and I will take partial blame for that just because I was at that game. So I will take partial blame for that. However, here we are, December 8th, and the Battleford North Stars have still not lost in regulation, something, you know, in my experience in junior hockey, I don't know if I've ever seen. What do you make of this run since the last time we've talked back in October to where we are now with this Battlefords team?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I've been the luckiest guy in the league here this year because I don't have anything to do with their success there. That's all the boys, that's the coaches, the players, the organization, and I just get to go along for the ride there. So really, I mean, it's been a special ride there. Like you said, I mean, really unheard of territory at this point in the season. I mean, I know we've been keeping up every week. I'm doing another article there. I was just joking with head coach Braden Klavosko ahead of the last road trip last weekend there on the way to Melfort that, hey, it's going to be another article here with the SJHL Top 20. But you know what? I love doing them. And this is just a great group of guys. You know, I had Kean Bell, league's leading goal scorer there, as we know well there on the program there as our player profile in the first intermission last night. And I was asking him, like I asked so many of the guys, you know, what do you see as the key? What's some of the, you know, recipe ingredients to success here? And he talked just like all the guys do about the tightness in the dressing room there. You know, he's one of those guys. Remember, he didn't even start the season with the Stars. He wasn't even on the roster there to start the season through training camp and things. Came in about 4 or 5 games into the schedule and just fit in like a glove. And I think that the guys really do attribute that largely to just a welcoming dressing room. You know, he said this is one of the tightest rooms I've been a part of. And, you know, to hear that from a guy still in his first year with the team, to see the on-ice results speak for themselves, you know, and it's really been something special that way. And then just as far as the on-ice product, I mean, you look at heading into a big matchup there a night ago, even without the head coach, the 2-time defending coach of the year, even without the league's leading point man there with 40 points in 20 games for Holden Dole, the team still finds a way. It's different guys stepping up. 3 different goal scorers on the 3 goals and another 39 stops by Cote between the pipes. I believe the penalty kill was 4 for 4, 5 for 5 on the night. So it really is everybody pulling the weight, everybody jumping on board. And when everybody feels like they're a part of it and has those clearly defined roles, I think the success really speaks for itself. And it comes from everybody feeling as though they do have a hand in things.
And you talked about everybody, like you mentioned, everybody having a hand in things for the success of the Battleford North Stars to start this season. 23-0-2-1, incredible start to the year. But maybe just speak to the job of head coach and GM Braden Klamosko and, of course, associate coach Gary Childerhose. I mean, they've obviously put together an outstanding program in Battleford, and they're playing a very exciting brand of hockey.
That's right. They are. And I think that's a big part of it as well. I mean, well, I know that's a big part of it there. I mean, the guys are playing for each other, but they're also playing for the guys behind the bench. And what that comes down to is putting a program out there. You know, it's a fun style of game. You know, this is a team that they want the guys to go out there. They want them to skate. They want them to use their skill when they have the puck in the offensive zone. As we've seen there, obviously, the league's top 3 scorers here over the last about month or so now and counting. I mean, it's reflected there that they let the boys play. They let them play to their strengths on the skill end with the puck possession in the offensive zone. But it's just movement. It's rolling the lines, getting everybody involved, and playing an up-tempo style of game. You know, like that one we saw last night. It may have only been a 3-1 final, but there was great action at both ends of the rink there. Guys skating like the wind, and that's what it comes down to. It's playing that fast pace. It's an easy program to buy into. And the guys know, too, that, hey, they're getting put into positions that'll lead to success there and make themselves successful. And everybody's got that clearly defined role. And that's what it comes down to. And, you know, they love playing for this guy. I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of the different guys there about Braden with his accolades here in recent years. Of course, right now as we speak, he was just at the selection camp there for the World Junior A Challenge Canada West team there. He'll be assistant coaching there, as we all know, and just a great guy. And for Chile there as well, assistant coach Childerhose. I mean, you look at him last night, he steps up. He was one man behind the bench there working both doors, and the guys just love playing for these guys, and they really make it easy too, with a program easy to buy into, the system's fun to play, and the guys reflect that in their joy for the game, which is a big part of the success as well.
For sure. You mentioned it in your answer, the number one line for the Battlefords North Stars: Holden Dole, Hyun Bell, Jake Southgate, 1, 2, 3 in scoring in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League going into this weekend. What is it like seeing them each and every night and seeing them, I guess, play together, and how dominant they've been this season?
Yeah, and it really has been right from that first couple of games there when they were put together. It was like a glove there, sliding right in together. And, what really stands out about those 3 guys is that they can all 3 make plays and finish plays equally well. Like, it really is something to behold. You know, you see like the captain, Jake Southgate, he scored a gorgeous goal there just last night on the breakaway. Little power. He's got that powerful stride. He broke in alone there on goal. Little fake shot, the Sidney Crosby special. Little kick as well to sell the move. Pulls it to the backhand and slides it through the 5-hole. I remember I said on the call at the time, I said, Jake the Snake Southgate slithers one home through the wickets. And then he's leading the league in assists as well there, with 32 on the year. So it really is, both guys could pass and shoot. And again, I know I mentioned already talking with Kean Bell there just last night in the first intermission. He said, I'm usually more of a pass first guy, been taking a little bit more of that shot first mentality here at certain points as the season's gone along. And I mean, it's paying off for him, obviously, leading the league in goals there with now, 21 on the season there. So it's just been special to watch there. And then what more could you say about Holden Dole? Guy's 19 years old. He didn't even play the full season last year, had some injuries throughout the year. In his first year of league play, comes back this season, leading the league in points heading into last night. I know Southgate did pass him there with a big night for him just a night ago with Dole out of the lineup. But I mean, 19 years old, 2 points per game, 40 points on the year through 20 games for Dole. And he's really the straw that stirs the drink down the middle of the ice as well. I mean, there's something to behold. And when they pick up the puck, it's just, there's no rush. There's no pressure with that puck there. It's poise, it's confidence, and they just know where each other are going to be. And it's really been something special, and makes my job fun there as well when they're getting a couple of goals on the board there. Always fun to see, and nice to see them having that success, because I'll tell you what, it all comes down to the love of the game. These guys love to be out there. I see them at practices as well. They're out there. They're having fun, enjoying the process, and it's paying off in the results there.
No doubt about it. This weekend, home and home against the Nipawin Hawks. What do you expect from the matchup against Nipawin?
Yeah, I expect a great weekend of hockey here. I know the ACC is going to be pumping there tomorrow night when we open it up at home. Nothing better than a Friday night on home ice there to bring in the weekend. And, for the Nipawin Hawks, it's just going to be, I believe, second time we played them here in the season series. First one was just a couple of weeks ago in Nipawin, and that was a testy contest as well. I know there was a scrap in that one, a couple of heavy hits. So we know Nipawin's going to come in there looking for a little bit of retribution. And anytime you have these close proximity games like the weekend back-to-back, the home and home set here, it's going to be a great night of hockey, and looking forward to a whole lot more of that because, Nipawin's coming in motivated. That Carson Dobson there, one of my favorite players to watch there. So good as well on the Nipawin side. Just one of their names that really stands out to me. Of course, played his AAA. They're actually captained the AAA North Stars there for about a year or two. So always fun when you got a guy like that who grew up, kind of played some hockey in the community there, and coming back as well for him in the Battlefords and for the North Stars. They'll be ready to rock and roll here, firing on all cylinders.
Final question for you, Marty, and it has nothing to do with the battle for North Stars. You kind of alluded to it, though, earlier. I will give you 100% credit. You probably have the most creative goal calls in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. I wrote a couple down from last night because I was watching the game. You alluded to it. When Jake Southgate scored, you called him Jake the Snake Southgate. I was howling. I loved it as a wrestling guy. Slithering that one home. The other one that really stood out to me that I loved when the North Stars were up 2-1 in the third period, when you talked about Josh Cote in between the pipes, and I'm not quoting you verbatim, but not word for word, but you said he could be in Cirque du Soleil with all the acrobatics he was doing in between the pipes. So my question to you is, how do you come up with all these great phrases?
That's right. Well, first of all, let me just say thanks there, Jeromy. I always appreciate it.
Of course.
And, for me, it some people ask me that. It really is just off the top of the dome there. Sometimes if I say what I like, I'll keep it stored away, but I don't write anything down. It's all about feeling the game. And, for me, even when I first got into this position, I've always looked at it like, you're an entertainer. You're there to paint a picture in the viewer's mind there, and especially coming in, like we got the Hockey TV hookup, which is obviously great there. You have the visual as well, but for a lot of our listeners over the radio, they're maybe not getting to see the action. So it's all about bringing a little bit of that color in, a little bit of something that the whole family can enjoy, and a little bit of humor as well. Always a light sprinkle of that as well, I think, just adds another element there. So for me, it's just the way I've always done it, and always something that I kind of find some real joy in there. So glad you like that one too. I know for Tanner Gold, it was striking gold there on his goal as well. So, always just looking for something to, make it a little bit different, help stand out, and give the boys a little laugh there as well.
You're 100% right. We are not only do we cover the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, we are also in the entertainment business. I couldn't agree more. Well, Marty, thank you so much for your time, as always. Greatly appreciate it. And have another great call this weekend for 2 games against Nipawin.
For sure. Well, hey, thanks again for having me on. And anytime there, my phone's always open.
Perfect, Marty. Well, that is the play-by-play voice of the Battlefords North Stars, Marty Martinson, after a big 3-1 win for the North Stars yesterday against the second-place L'Orange Ice Wolves. Another 2 games against Nipawin this weekend, Clark. And there's so many things to unpack here.
Oh, my God.
Marty's amazing. But the thing for me is, obviously, they're 23-0-2-1.
Right.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago on SJHL Weekly in one of the buy it or sell it sections, and we asked, are the Battlefords North Stars going to lose a game, essentially, in regulation prior to the Christmas break? And at the time, I think only one person said they wouldn't. It was me. But they got 5 games
Don't toot your own horn
They
too hard
got
there,
5
Jack.
games left.
Yeah.
2 against Nipawin this weekend. And Nipawin's probably playing arguably some of their best hockey of the season. So that's going to be a really good home and home this weekend.
Yeah, 2 against, what is it? 2 against Nipawin, Yorkton twice, and Melville once.
Yes, and it's a 3-3 before the holiday break.
Right, back and forth to Yorkton and Melville there. I mean, in terms of, let's just straight up on the standings, those teams are in the bottom 6 of the league right now. So you would think at this point, it looks pretty good that they might be able to pull this one off.
But any team can beat anybody in the SJHL. That's what makes the league special.
Exactly. It's 4 road games.
Yep.
Out of those 5, so
4 straight road games.
4 straight, exactly. And it's not an easy one, like I said, from them going all the way down south like that, going up to Nipawin and then down south. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, they have the top 3 scorers in the league.
Yep.
They have the top defenseman, tied for the top defenseman in scoring in the league. And if you look, I just checked, if you look at the goalie standings, goalie stats, I should say, and you don't have the qualified goalies on because Justin Merrick hasn't qualified yet in terms of amount of games that he's played. Top 2 goalies for goals against, top 2 goalies for save percentage. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
They can put out their backup and get just as good, not just as good. I mean, let's be real. Josh Cote has been unbelievable this season, but they can put out their backup with confidence every single night, and it has a large part in due to the team in front of them. But at the same time, how do you argue with the numbers?
And Marty mentioned last night they didn't have Holden Dole, who was away at Team Canada West tryout camp. Unfortunately, Holden Dole didn't make Team Canada West, so he will be back with the North Stars prior to the Christmas break. So they'll get a boost back to their lineup. And while we're at it, we also have to give a big shout out to both Zach Summers of the Melfort Mustangs and Ethan Zilke of the Humboldt Broncos, because they made Team Canada West. So there's going to be 2 players and a coach on Team Canada West for the World Junior A Challenge, which gets going on Sunday.
Yeah, right away. That's exciting.
And their first game Sunday night against the USA.
Ooh.
So should be a great game. I think, and as always, I do believe gold medal games on TSN.
Yep.
So it's going to be great.
Stay tuned.
Again, congratulations to Zach Summers, Ethan Zilke. They're going to do great. They're going to represent the SJHL in a great way, as always. So congratulations to them. But, and you know, unfortunately for Holden Dole, unfortunately he didn't make Team Canada West, but he'll be back in the lineup for the Battlefords North Stars maybe tomorrow.
That could be exciting.
Maybe
as well.
tomorrow, maybe Saturday, maybe just next week. We'll find out.
Yeah. Where was the camp being held?
Cornwall.
Okay, so I mean, it's a jaunt, but he might be able to get back in the lineup. I mean, it's not like it's in Halifax or something. It's not that far, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, anytime you take that much firepower out of your lineup and then put it back in, doesn't hurt you.
No,
doesn't hurt.
And I mean, they proved it last night.
Yeah,
they played the second best team in the league based off the standings, and it just spoke to their depth.
Yeah,
it just spoke to the depth of the Battlefords North Stars. Let's start previewing this weekend. We got 9 games on tap this weekend, and it all starts off Friday night. 5 big games on the schedule. There it is. Melfort is in Estevan to take on the Bruins. The Mustangs have an 8-game point streak going. 6-0-2 in their last 8. Of course, Estevan looking to win their 3rd game in a row after knocking off Kindersley twice, 4-2. Both Melville and Humboldt will be looking to get back in the win column at the Horizon Credit Union Center in Melville. Kindersley wraps up their 3-game in 4-night road trip in the Southeast as they take on the Weyburn Red Wings at the CPP. Of course, we alluded to it. Battlefords and Nipawin are going to play home and home this weekend. And then Yorkton is up north once again as they visit the Flin Flon Bombers at the Whitney Forum. Saturday, much lighter night on Saturday. Only 3 games. Very rare for us.
Only 3.
For a Saturday, though, usually it's like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So this is a light night, in my opinion, at least for a Saturday.
Definitely.
The second half of that home and home between Battlefords and Nipawin. Melfort will be in Weyburn, and then Larange will play host to Yorkton. And then on Sunday, the week wraps up with a divisional matchup at the Horizon Credit Union Center as Estevan plays their 4th game in 6 days as they take on the Melville Millionaires. For you, Clark, when you look at those 9 games, what's your game of the weekend?
So I'm looking at the schedule right now, and usually, you know, you look for teams that have very, very good records playing each other. Top 3 or 4 teams or 5 or whatever playing against each other. This weekend, it's a lot of splits. It's a lot of top versus bottom of the standings.
I had that in my notes.
Matchups. Well, 100%. There you go. Great minds. But the one that does kind of stand out to me in that regard, in terms of teams playing together with similar records, playing against each other, I should say, Kindersley Weyburn Friday night. I'm looking forward to that one a little bit because we saw Weyburn make the big acquisition. Kindersley tinkered with their roster over the last week or so, and it's a very important one for both of them because Kindersley needs to get some points. They need to get some points here going into this stretch before Christmas. And Weyburn, again, with the new look roster, so to speak,
right?
And they're at home. Are they going to try to impress the crowd? Let's see what happens there. So I'm looking forward to that one. I know it might not be the one that maybe pops off the screen, but I am looking at that one as a one with fairly importance, a lot of importance to it.
Yeah, we talk about a lot. We were at the beginning of the season, we were talking about the groupings of the teams in the SJHL. I think it was last week or the previous week, we talked about how now we're starting to see some separation between the top 6 and the bottom 6. And like you mentioned, a lot of those matchups this weekend are a top 6 team against a bottom 6 team.
Right.
With that being said, there's a couple of things I'm keeping my eye on for this weekend. The first thing is between the Melfort Mustangs and the Estevan Bruins. Because I think that's going to be, well, first off, that's a key. That's the only matchup you touched on, Clark. That is a 2 teams in the top six that are going head to head.
For sure.
And I got the standings right here in front of me. And, you know, they're only separated by 4 points. The big thing is with Melfort and Estevan is Melfort has 5 games in hand.
Right.
Melfort has 5 games in hand on the Estevan Bruins.
This could be a big one for them.
With only 4 points back. So for me, I think this is a crucial game for Estevan. Because if you can get 2 points in regulation, at least you get 6 ahead of Melfort. They still have 5 games in hand. But obviously with the games in hand, you have to take advantage of it. But Melfort's playing some really good hockey. And Melfort's without Zach Summers, who has been red hot as of late. He's on a 7-game goal-scoring streak. Unfortunately, he won't be able to continue that until he gets back from Team Canada West after Christmas. But when I look at just one game this weekend, for me, that's the biggest one.
That's maybe the marquee one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the big one. Now, with that being said, we talked about the separation from the top 6 to the bottom 6. The last week or so, probably a week and a half, we have started to see a little bit, just a little bit, separation of 7 and 8 from the bottom 4.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't.
Probably.
Keep talking.
Keep talking. I actually don't. I just wanted to play it off.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding. I personally think this is a massive weekend for those 4 teams that are currently outside the playoff spot.
Huge. And they all play quite a bit. So that's...
yeah, because Yorkton's and Flin Flon and L'Orange.
Right. 2
games. You have Melville home to Humboldt and Estevan. 2 home games. Weyburn, you are home to Kindersley. You are home to Melfort. Kindersley, unfortunately, only has 1 game left.
Right.
Against Weyburn.
That's that one.
But I look at those 4 teams, and for me, it's a big weekend for them. I think you have to... Notre Dame has no more games until next week. They have no games this weekend. We talked about it on SJHL Weekly on Monday with Nipawin. They are playing their best hockey of the season probably right now. I think I said that earlier. But with that being said, they're going into Friday on a 4-game winning streak. Yeah. Their schedule for the next month is very difficult.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, you're seeing a lot of Battleford. You're seeing a lot of L'Orange. You're seeing a lot of Melfort.
Yeah.
Their biggest rivals. That is...
Best of luck to you, Nipawin.
That is a very difficult schedule.
Yeah.
So, if Nipawin does struggle during that stretch, that's when those teams have to take advantage.
Exactly.
They got to take advantage of all these games. And I think going into the Christmas or the holiday break, you don't want to be too far back.
No.
You don't want to be too far back.
You want to snag
if you can take advantage of some of these games this weekend.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 big things I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah.
This weekend.
And if I can build off of your point, if I can steal from you here for a sec.
You don't have to steal.
Well, okay.
I'll share.
You mentioned Yorkton in that group. Now, you
100%.
said there's a little bit of separation. They're that 9th place team. Notre Dame does not play a game, as you mentioned, and Yorkton is 4 points back of Notre Dame. They have 2 games, yes? They don't play on the Sunday, so they have 2 games. And they're against Yorkton.
Yes. Yorkton's in Flin Flon on Friday.
So technically.
And L'Orange on Saturday.
So technically, if they play really well, now very, very difficult 2 games.
2 of the toughest buildings to win in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and I would argue the 2 toughest.
But if they could snag a couple of points here, that would be huge in keeping that gap minimal, I should say. And if I can bring up a little bit of history.
Love history.
Recent history. Sure. I'm not digging too deep here. they beat Flin Flon on the weekend. And I texted you that night and said, Yorkton
has beat Flin Flon twice this year.
So now that's on the road. It's in Flin Flon, yes? Yeah.
And they've beaten Flin Flon in Flin Flon this year.
Exactly. So I'm not going to say anything too much, but how good would it feel coming off that Nipawin game this week?
Sure.
If they could come back and get back on the track with that.
And it's funny you say that too, is look at what happened last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They had a really tough game in Melfort, losing 7-0.
Right.
And then what a response.
Great response.
5-2 win at home against Flin Flon.
So
there's no reason why they can't do it again.
No. And
there's no reason why they can't do it again.
I'm going to keep my eye on Yorkton because, it's a big stretch for them. They need to keep that gap short or eliminate the gap. And if they can, they seem to, I don't know, there's been a couple of games this year where I'm like, oh, I didn't expect Yorkton maybe at this point to make that game as close as it was or win that game or whatever it was. So maybe they'll play up to their opponents this week. And maybe this is one of those. Maybe they'll catch fire for a couple games. So I'm looking forward to it.
We don't have a standings graphic ready, but I got the standings right in front of me here on my iPad.
Show the screen.
I don't think it'll do justice.
I'm joking.
I don't think it'll
don't do that.
And our producer Jordan will get all.
He'll get grumpy. Yeah, don't do it. Not worth it.
But you mentioned the separation between Notre Dame and Yorkton's 4 points.
Yep.
Even the separation between just Kindersley and Notre Dame is only 6 points.
Sure.
And that's where it comes back to how important of a stretch this weekend is. I think you look at all those teams, Yorkton, Weyburn, Melville, all three of them have 2 games. Kindersley, obviously, they only have the 1. But yeah, I think that's something I'm definitely keeping my eye out for. Especially when you have, Nipawin's got two big games against Battlefords this weekend. You mentioned Notre Dame's not going to play any games this week.
Yeah.
This week until next week. They got 2 games next week. Against Estevan and Weyburn.
Okay.
But
good memory.
Thank you.
Oh, seriously.
But yeah, it's going to be, I think it's just going to be a really big weekend for those teams that are currently outside of the playoff spot. They're going to be looking to try and get some points, get closer to Notre Dame. The only unfortunate thing is, you mentioned Yorkton, is that they don't take advantage of those games this weekend. Mm-hmm. After this weekend, Notre Dame's going to have 3 games in hand on the Terriers.
Right.
They're going to have, same with 3 games in hand on Melville. They'll have only 1 game in hand on Weyburn. Mm-hmm. But it's taking advantage of these opportunities.
Yep.
For sure.
It'll be interesting. Now, Jeromy, and one other thing, too.
Yep.
We look at Sunday's game. Mm-hmm. That's Estevan in Melville. Mm-hmm. Is there rumors that we might be making our way down to that game? Have there been rumors? Will you confirm nor deny?
Well, it's not a rumor. It's just I was like, where are we going with
There's
this?
rumblings.
We're going.
I've been hearing rumblings.
We're going to Sunday's game.
There you go.
We're going to Sunday's game in Melville.
At the bank.
Yes.
We have
formerly called the Vault.
We have an appointment at the bank.
We do. I never got a background of why they changed it from the Vault to the bank.
Yeah.
We should ask.
If you have $1 million, if you're a millionaire,
wouldn't you want to put it in a vault?
Would you keep your money in the bank or would you put it in a vault? I might put it in a vault.
These are hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
We need to ask.
Or maybe we should call it the safe. Like maybe there's a third option here.
Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll have to talk to them.
Because then if it's the vault, maybe a vault is less welcoming than a bank and people don't want to go to a vault. You know what we're going to do?
This is what we're going to do.
Okay.
And I haven't even tried to book next week's guest, but we're going to get him. We're going to bring Benny Walchuk.
Bernard?
We are going to...
I don't call him Bernard. I'm kidding. Bernard Walchuk. I think that's what you call... That's the short term. That's what Benny is short for, isn't it? Bernard? Originally? Benjamin? Bernard and Benjamin. Either one. Bernie? Are we calling Benny Bernie now? Next segment, please.
Clark, you're really digging yourself a hole, my friend.
Can we move on?
You better get Benny a good Christmas present.
Yeah, I better.
Anyways,
he complains every year when I don't get him one. I should probably get him one.
He does. In a fun way.
Oh, Benny.
With that being said, why don't we bring Benny on next week?
I'm in.
And we'll ask him the hard-hitting questions. Mm-hmm. We'll ask him about that. Because I actually don't know when they made that change.
Is he the banker?
Okay, stop. So 9 games this weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. If you want to stay up to date with everything in the SJHL this weekend, moving forward, we are about a month away from the trade deadline. So it's kind of like that push before the trade deadline. But Be sure to stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League with our socials. They are on the screen right now if you're watching the video portion. If not, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure, please, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you're going to find everything. SJHL Insider, SJHL Weekly, highlights, features, interviews.
We got some interviews coming up, too.
Interviews coming up. We have everything.
Some stuff coming.
It's free to subscribe.
We're like right at 700 subscribers, too. We got to get there.
693.
Exactly. We got to get over that number.
Right now. And that number's gone up a lot since the beginning of the season, which is great.
Oh, it's grown
but
big.
Let's keep the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Before we thank our sponsors, we have to talk a little bit about, we announced it on Monday.
Ooh.
Big news from the SJHL. Exciting new raffle coming up. There it is. I was waiting for it. It is the brand new Polaris SJHL raffle. You could potentially.
Me?
Yes, you, if you want to buy a ticket, Clark.
Whoa.
If you want to buy
I might
a
get
ticket.
in on this.
A brand new Polaris 1000 side-by-side.
Nice.
As you can see on your screen, tickets are now available at sjhlraffle.ca. And 1 for 25, 3 for 60, 10 for 100. So essentially, the more you buy, the more you save. And the more you have a better chance at winning a beautiful side-by-side. Now, with that being said, as you can see on the screen, there's the side-by-side. Okay?
That's
Clark, you see that
model.
side-by-side? You see it? Okay,
yep,
you see that right on the screen? Perfect.
Yeah.
That is going to have a beautiful SJHL wrap, all wrapped around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not wrapped yet, but once it does, you'll see it. It will be a great prize. And tickets for the SJHL raffle for the Polaris side-by-side would make a fantastic holiday gift, wouldn't it?
I was going to say, and I also see April 23rd is the end date. My birthday's in April, so it would make a good birthday present too, as well, on top of that. But we're talking about right now, which is Christmas. So
yes, it would. It would make a good birthday present, make a good Christmas present.
Valentine's Day
coming
up.
That's what I know I'm going to get my lady for Valentine's Day.
Absolutely.
10 tickets to the Polaris side-by-side raffle.
Exactly.
100%.
I'm telling you, if I don't find that as a gift to myself for Valentine's Day for my wife, I'm giving you a hint now, wife. If I don't see this wrapped up, a 10-pack of raffle tickets.
A 10-pack wrapped
from sjhlraffle.ca, I am going to be upset.
But as you can see, also underneath the prizing, there is only 5,000 tickets available.
Yeah, you can't wait on this.
No, you can't wait. Tickets are going to be available until April 23rd or until the tickets have sold out.
Yeah.
There's only 5,000. So be sure to go to sjhlraffle.ca, get your tickets now for the side-by-side. Again, great holiday gift.
Maybe by my birthday, there won't be any tickets left. So it better be a Christmas present, I guess. Jeez.
Or Valentine's Day. There you go.
I prefer Christmas.
Any celebration makes for a great gift.
Any celebration. Anniversaries.
Sure.
Can we just start listing?
No, we've already.
I can't remember any of the
we're
other
already getting
holidays,
off track a bit.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve gift. Interesting.
Do you do that? I don't know.
I don't.
I don't think I have.
Anyways,
start a new tradition. I don't know.
Sure. I'll take a New Year's Eve gift.
Let's go.
Before we go, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsors once again. First, again, big shout out to Polaris again.
Huge.
But all the sponsors, as you can see on the screen, Canterra Seed, SaskTel, Capital Automall, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, Direct West, Sask Lotteries, who provides our recaps every week. Direct West, SGI, who is the proud sponsor of the audio version of our podcast for SJHL Weekly, SJHL Insider, SGU, Great Western, Young's Equipment, RBC. Thank you so much for your great support of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League.
It's a great list.
It is a great list, and it keeps growing.
Yep.
Which we love to see. But thank you so much for your support. We greatly appreciate it, because guess what? Again, I say this every week. Every week on this show, every week on SJHL Weekly.
Sometimes you say it to me just outside of the show.
You know what, Clark? This show wouldn't be possible without our great sponsors.
You say that almost every time we see each other.
Pretty much. Yeah. I say, hey, Clark, this show wouldn't be possible without our great sponsors.
Pretty much every time you see me, you say that.
I do.
That's why you're so good at saying the list, because you recite it to me on a daily basis. It's a great job.
Exactly.
You do a great job.
You gotta. That's why you gotta. It's just repetition,
Yep.
So thank you so much for your great support. Of course, if you want to stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, I list off our social media. But thanks, or be sure to go to sjhl.ca to watch or to check in with all the articles and everything like that. That's where you'll also find highlights and all that fun stuff. Again, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you know what? We got 9 games this weekend.
Oh, can't wait.
9 games this weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Clark's going to 1.
Yes.
I'm going to 1, maybe 2.
Oh, maybe 2?
Tease.
Wow.
If you can't make it out to the rink, though, be sure to subscribe to Hockey TV. Talk about another great holiday gift.
Oh, my gosh. When you said that earlier, I was like, that's a great Christmas gift. Alongside, a side-by-side, you might say, a raffle ticket to the Polaris.
You know what?
Raffle.
I've already done my Christmas shopping.
It's easy.
Yeah, I've done my Christmas shopping for both my mom and my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Enjoy a new subscription to Hockey TV.
There you go.
And you're going to enjoy some raffle tickets.
We just handled so many problems for people across this great
Christmas
province.
shopping taken care of.
Done.
Thanks to the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey
Honestly.
League. But yes, if you can't make it out to the local rinks, you can catch all the games on Hockey TV this weekend. If for some reason, if you don't have a subscription to Hockey TV, you can check out all the highlights on our social media and sjhl.ca. 9 games on the schedule this weekend. It's going to be a fun one for Clark Munroe. My name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Insider. Enjoy the games this weekend, everyone.